That's all right. We didn't do headlines. I haven't done. Hey, everybody! Yeah. GameHounds podcast. Nick and I are I'm running late. I'm showing off my dog.
I'm showing off my cat.
I don't know if you can see it in the chat. This is why I need a husband to stop me from doing stuff like that. Mia always had a natural little mohawk, a little white mohawk. Well, now Mia has a purple mohawk like Mom. And for the record, for anyone concerned, there was no bleach involved. She always had a little white mohawk naturally. And the dye never touched her skin. It's pretty benign stuff anyway. It's not like it's got any chemical processes. It's just a color that lays on top, like most animal dyes anyway. But yeah, I know better than to put it on her skin. It's just on the tips, just where it was white. So yeah, it is the dog cast. Oh, yes it is. It's the dog cast. So, and then Shepherd's here, of course. So we're with our beasts.
He may not be a dog, but he's named after one.
Yeah, your cat loves you way more than my dog. Doesn't she?
You say that, but I originally closed this door.
Look at that cat. See, that's what you need to be doing right there. No.
But see, I closed this door because I wanted to lock him in with me, and he just wandered around everywhere, climbing across the desk, scratching at the carpet by the door, being a little jerk. So finally, I opened the door. Mm-hmm. He walked out, walked back in, and sat in my lap. He just doesn't like closed doors.
I just want to be loved by someone who loves me as much as that cat loves you. Yeah.
You should have seen Jupiter this morning. I was watching TV. I had a blanket over me, at my feet. He crawled under the blanket on the floor, jumped up onto the couch, and then sat on my lap underneath the blanket. It was adorable.
Yep. So, all right. My little punk.
Oh, AC right here with the gold-plated Wii reminder.
Oh. What was I supposed to remind me about? Oh. What was I supposed to be reminded about? We want to check to see what the gold-plated Wii. Thank you. Let's see.
Yeah, it's up to 5,000.
Show it.
Oh, jeez.
My right channel on my mixer is the pot is getting old and I think breaking. So
okay. Last week was the 8th. So on the 8th, it was 3,000.
Yeah.
And it has now gone up to 5,000.
Okay.
So if this continues, then by the time it ends in 6 days, it should probably be about 7.
No, I've got to set. Hey, where's my Siri? Hey Siri. In 5 days, remind me to look at the gold-plated Wii auction.
Okay, your reminder is set for Friday.
Cool. Yeah. I guess we should probably go over what have you played? You know what games we're going to talk about.
Tunic and Trek to Yomi.
TREKTO?
Yes. Yeah, Trek TO Yomi YOMI.
Okay. And okay, and then news items are gonna be.
I've got a lot.
Oh, good, because I normally set a alarm to go off at 1:00, and remind me so that I can sit down and start prepping for the show. And today my alarm did not go off. I mean, it probably went off, but I didn't notice it. So I was like, wow, it seems really late. Am I that ahead of time? Things are weird. And I looked at my clock and it was 1:52. So I have zero prep for this show. So let's see. I only have one news item. Let me see. What do I have? I have, yes, two news items. And I'm going to put mine up there first because it's going to be more for you. Starfield. And the only other one was, Ubisoft confirms Skull and Bones Avatar. Oh, I hope we don't get a howling dog. Skull and Bones Avatar in 2023. Okay. Now, what are yours?
Elden Ring has outsold Call of Duty.
Okay.
Dead Space Remake gets a release date.
Mm-hmm.
Alan Wake coming to Switch and is it AMC Plus? No, just AMC.
Okay.
Big news: Starfield and Redfall got delayed.
Oh, that's right. It was Starfield and Redfall. I forgot about that. Yeah, I had that one.
Lawsuit against Valve moves forward.
Okay.
We know the one person keeping Babylon's Fall alive.
Oh, that's right. That one guy. I forgot about that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Was it Babylon? It's Babylon's Fall. Apostrophe S, right?
Yes. Oh, gotta look under the webcam. Yeah, Babylon's Fall.
Yeah.
The fall of Babylon.
Okay.
EA loses the FIFA name.
Oh, that's right. What else?
Switch is still selling very well. Even if they missed, just still selling well.
Okay.
Rockstar CEOs gets a bonus for microtransactions.
I now heard about that one too.
Xbox Network Goat went out last weekend. And a lot of people had trouble playing games.
Yes, they did. I heard about that as well. That was hard to miss. There was a lot of screaming.
I completely missed it.
Well, I didn't. I missed it because I wasn't playing Xbox last weekend. But yeah, it was all over my feed and news. What else?
You had the news about Activision's diversity tool, which I looked up. I haven't read too much about it.
You're right. Yeah, that's why I'm not going to talk about it, even though I want to. It's complicated. It's a big kind of story to go into the details to get it right. So I'm not going to talk about it because I don't have I normally would have had the time to really deep dive into it to be able to be well informed. So, yeah, we'll talk about it next week if it continues to be an issue. All right, so is that it? Can we start the show?
Wait, hang on.
You get Audacity up and running.
Oh, I thought it was Deathloop was free on PlayStation 5, but it's just avatars of Deathloop characters.
Yeah. Let's see who we got in the chat room. We got Pissed. Hey, Pissed. I got AC Wraith, of course. Hey, Blood Reaper is in here, and we code AC Wraith Gold. And got Bitters. Hey, Bitters. Thanks for reaching out on Facebook earlier today. Why did you think that we were on earlier? Why did you think that we might not be doing the show?
Right.
AC Ray says if it was Babylon 5, maybe I would have actually played. True.
There were some screenshots of a potential Silent Hill leak.
Okay. Anything else?
No. There's another rumor about a Bloodborne remake, but there's always a rumor about Bloodborne remake.
Right. Oh, this pot is killing me. Fortunately, now I have more boards to replace this one with. So I'm a little bit like at weird state now, and a little bit behind because I am prepping for our annual garage sale, and this year I don't have like Kevin around to help, and 2, I have to get rid of all of Kevin's things, and I don't even know what most of those boxes are, so I'm having to go through them one at a time. Write down the serial numbers, look them up, see if they're worth anything, price them if they're worth a lot of money, putting them aside to sell to some, retailer or, reseller, like a brick and mortar instruments and studio equipment reseller, or if it's something cheap and putting it out on the front porch. And it's not just computers. The 2 arms, he had 2 like monitor arms, wall mounted monitor arms on his desk.
Okay.
The 2 of those were $250 each, new. And they're, of course, perfect condition. Bit dusty. And I would never have known if I didn't have such a hard time getting them apart and trying to figure out how to get them apart. I wouldn't have looked them up and realized they're $500 worth of like computer arms.
On the Waypoint podcast, they were talking about monitor arms, and I guess that's a industry where there's a line between cheap ones and expensive ones. And it's something that like when offices buy monitor arms, usually they buy a lot of cheap ones because it's a very easy way to like save money.
Yeah.
But like the cheap ones move in like increments that are hard to set, so you can't quite get it exactly where you want to go.
They don't feel right. They don't hold as much weight properly, and when you adjust them, you can't get them just right, and they don't last. This thing is like, it's butter. It's butter. It's both of them. Were like when you move them, they look almost like, like you see car makers, they've got those robot arms.
Oh, yeah.
That's what these things look like. That's why I couldn't get them apart. But they're apart now. I just had to go online and figure out how to go to the YouTube video to assemble them and then just go the other direction. But yeah, it's going through all this little stuff that, he spent so much money on. And like his desk, which is an IKEA desk, actually has an online fan club of people that are on the lookout for this desk because IKEA no longer makes it. You can look it up, AC Wraith, because I know you will. It's called a jerker desk. It's spelled like it sounds, the jerker. And the jerkers people are absolute fans where they have like, here's how to find jerker parts, and here's how to find the jerker hardware, and here's how to find all the jerker accessories. And Kevin had all the accessories and all the parts, and he had all the pieces all taped together and organized. So yeah, it's like I could break. And here's how you want to find your jerker. You want to find your jerker assembled, because if you break it apart, then you might not be able to get it back together again. So you got to find it fully assembled. I would have just taken it apart, but now I know it's worth way more fully assembled. Of course, getting it out might be difficult, but I'm going to do minimal assembly, disassembly. But it's just, that's what I've been doing yesterday. So that was most of my day and a little bit of this morning. So that's how I kind of got distracted and why we're late. All right. So any other topics before I start the audio recording?
No, good. We're good.
All right. Audio recorded start. Check, checkity, check. I have waveforms. Nick, please.
Test. Hello.
Yes.
This is me. I'm here.
Yeah, your room is really echoey now. Is this because this at the new place?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, the room is super. Well, it's because you have a wall closer behind you.
Mm-hmm.
So the sound goes to that wall, bounces back, and then it starts to bounce back and forth, and you get this like echo that's you didn't have in your other room. Just
what's cool though is that since I'm doing this from a laptop, I could take it anywhere.
You know what? Are you sure you're going through your microphone?
Not this microphone?
No. Do me a favor. Flick that microphone. Just flick it. Yeah, you're going through your computer.
Okay.
Microphone.
Let's see. How would I get to sound settings? A sound?
You want your input to be your headset.
Left channel, right channel, enhance audio, sound. Yeah, input. Headset microphone. I think that's what I want.
Yep.
How does that sound?
Still sounds the same.
Okay. So microphone, USB audio, headset microphone. That's what I'm at now. That should be this one.
Do me a favor. Flick it like this.
I'm going to do a test. Okay.
Nope.
Okay. Then that means it must be microphone array. How's this? Does this sound?
Did you accept already? Is there an accept on that? Like I know I can do a hot switch on a Mac, but I think you have to accept it.
No sound, no thing like that came. Okay. Playback. Recording.
We should have tested this earlier.
The headset microphone.
This is why I didn't want you to get on my...
There. How's this?
Same.
Wait, why? Use that one. I said that has the default. Okay. Why did that one not work?
All right, we'll go with your computer audio for right now. But yeah, I'm sorry I didn't notice the echo earlier.
Okay, no. Why? I said it has a default device. Why is it not defaulting.
Maybe it doesn't have the driver for that headset?
No, I hear it's coming through.
Well, we'll go without it. Let me stop that. All right. Well, don't worry about it because it's going to take an hour for you to go through it. And meanwhile, we are now 40 minutes late. So let's just start the show, okay?
Okay.
All right. Starting the show. As soon as I get open my folder for this and essential show tracks. All right.
Test, test.
Easily offended. Please stop this podcast now. Oh, and your mom says to take out the trash and your homework.
Mics are hot. Hello and welcome to GameHounds. GameHounds episode 639. We are recording this on Sunday, May 15th, 2022. I'm Edie Sellers. With me is Nick DiNicola at his new place with his new laptop. And Nick just thought you could just, buy a laptop and then just plug your old headset in and everything would work fine and you wouldn't need to test your headset.
I mean, yes, because that's how technology should work.
You know, and I know technology never works like it should.
So the thing is,
anyway, that's why he sounds like he's on his computer mic, is because he's on his computer mic.
I just plugged in the headset, and the earphones work.
Hey, question. Could it be the settings within StreamYard?
Oh, yes. Okay, let's see.
Sorry
audio.
to be going into like the nuts and bolts and, seeing the little man behind the curtain on this, but it just kind of hit me.
Can you hear me?
I can. There it is.
Okay.
That was the answer right there.
Thank you. Who was that? You that came up with that, or someone in the chat?
No, just me.
Okay. Yes. No one. I kept looking through the Windows stuff because I plugged it in, and it automatically recognized that. And when I logged on to StreamYard, it said, "Do you want to allow your headphone and microphone?" And I said, "Yes."
You always
So I
gotta check
assumed-
which ones.
Yeah.
You always gotta
Anyways,
check which
so
ones.
okay, problem solved. See, look, technology is easier than we thought.
Now, the camera that you're using,
Yes.
do you have your high def camera? Because you don't look as good as you normally do. I bet you when you said allow camera, it just said camera and microphone. It just said, oh yes, the camera and the microphone for your computer, not for your headset. I'll bet you.
No, this has to be the webcam because I put the webcam in front of the other one.
Okay.
But let's see. I can up it to high definition.
Oh yes, you always want to be high def. Oh, so much better. So much better. There you go. Whatever. Hey everyone, I'm sorry that took so long to get sorted out. How are you? Thank you very much. There you go. AC Wraith, IKEA jerker desks, bring them back. There's a Facebook page to them. Yes, the Bitter says, now you're an HD stubble.
Hey, if I've learned one thing from HD, it's that stubble looks best in HD. Like you really get to like see. You appreciate the high definition when someone has like stubble and you're like, oh, I can see each individual hair. This is awesome.
So yeah, if you were wondering about the jerker desks, I've been preparing for a garage sale coming up on Memorial Day weekend. And this year I have no help. And on top of that, way more stuff because I'm unloading Kevin's office. And Kevin's office has a jerker desk. And if you want to go into a rabbit hole a rabbit hole of rabid fans, go look up jerker desks. IKEA jerker desks. IKEA made them. People love them. And then they discontinued them. And now there is a whole online community looking for jerkers. In fact, thank you for that Facebook page, because I will post that I'm going to be selling a full jerker desk.
There's a dirty joke in there, but I just want everyone
There's
to know
all
we're
that
above it.
Because
We
I've
are more
already
mature than
made
that.
all those jokes. Kevin and I have made those jokes for the last 20 years. So, I'm late to the show, so Nick is bringing most of the news this week.
Yeah, I've got a lot of news actually. A lot of news, and because I'm in a new place, I specifically opted, because I'm moving things over bit by bit.
Mm-hmm.
I explicitly chose not to take the PlayStation so that I couldn't play Elden Ring, and I had to play other things.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's funny.
So the reason I've not played Elden Ring this week is because I have been physically unable to.
It had to be removed from you. Like, you have to be put in your room. Go to your room, Punish.
I'm going cold
You're grounded.
turkey.
You're grounded. AC Ray said, fine. I erased my bad joke. No, go ahead. Everybody that wants to make the jerker desk joke in the chat, go nuts. This is your moment. You're never going to have another chance to make a jerker desk joke.
No, it's a Link shirt.
Yeah.
Not an anime shirt. It's kind of anime.
Oops, sorry. Didn't mean to do that.
Wow, I guess you don't care about my
No,
fashion.
I meant to do this. There we go.
Oh,
Show the anime shirt.
It's Link. A Link says Link.
Yeah.
A Link's Link.
Link.
Yeah.
So what games have you been playing? If you are not playing Elden Ring, sir.
I have gotten to the end of my time with Tunic. That's the game I've been playing for the past couple weeks. The Souls. AC Wraith says I got my intelligence to 80-point soft cap and finished Fia's quest line. I want to do Fia's quest line next. I'm kind of at that point, but 80 soft cap. Damn, man. You have gone for it. Anyways, Tunic is the Souls, Zelda, Fez combo game.
Mm-hmm.
I've turned a corner with that, and my interest in playing it has kind of really dropped. I'm kind of just done with the game. I don't want to beat it. My interest kind of took a nosedive in the last quarter of it. For the first 3 quarters of the game, I think it does a really, really good job of balancing mystery with an availability of stuff to do that you never feel cornered. You never feel like you've gotten to a point where you're stuck at something that you just have to bang your head against. It's a game that never really tells you what to do or where to go. Most of the text is in this made-up language, but it does a good job for those first 3 quarters of giving you just enough hints visually and context clues that you can kind of figure out where to go, what to do, and it feels so wide open. As I got to the end, I kind of felt things funneling, and it got to a point where I found a boss, tried to fight the boss, couldn't beat him, and then thought, okay, I'm just going to keep going on and trying something else. I found another boss, tried to beat him, couldn't, and thought, well, I'm going to go try to do something else. Couldn't find that something else to do. And what I realized is I had kind of funneled to a point where I needed to beat the bosses. And I had always thought that, I'm just going to level up my character some more to get stronger, and these bosses will be less of a pain. No, they're just a pain. That's just
Got it. Yeah, I have had that happen to me where I have a kind of expected contract with a game that if I'm going to play it when I meet a boss, I should be able to beat the boss. And if I but if I can't beat I mean, it's not just a matter of like, oh, I missed something. Like, I'm not strong enough to beat the boss. That at a certain point, I may have skipped something or I'm not doing something right and I need to go back. Because if I'm going to hit that boss, the game's obligated to be something that will let me pass that boss. And if you can complete all of the side quests and not be able to beat a single one of the bosses, then that's bad game design.
So the thing is, I was able to beat the bosses.
Oh, you were? Okay.
I was. Like
I'll shut up now.
Well, I beat those two bosses, and then I kind of went on and beat the not the last boss, but for most of the game, you're trying to collect 3 things. And each of those things is behind a boss. I beat those bosses. I got those 3 things. And what's frustrating is the way the bosses are designed. This isn't a game, when you level up your character, you're not like building your character. I'm not putting points into strength or points into intelligence. I'm not crafting someone. I'm just making him stronger. He gets a stronger attack. He gets more defense. He gets more health. He gets more magic. That's it. It's very simple kind of leveling up. And so as you play, the character is basically a tank. He's kind of designed to be that way from the beginning. He moves fairly slow. He's got a shield that blocks almost every attack in the game. And so a lot of the smaller enemies are designed with that in mind. You kind of use the shield to defend, to close the distance between you and the enemy, and then you just get in close and hit them because you only have a sword, and the sword has a fairly limited range. And you've got some magical items that you can also use to like close that distance to either bring the enemy toward you or shoot them from afar. But for the most part, you use the shield, you get in close, you hit them. The problem with the bosses is it feels like they're designed around someone a lot more maneuverable. The bosses are all designed with a range in mind. Mm-hmm. One of them is on the tip of a tower. You're fighting on a tower, and he's floating around you. So you can't actually hit him. You need to either throw magic at him or use magic to pull him closer and then hit him. And so that's really frustrating because it feels like he was designed around my limitation. But it's not a limitation that I created for my character. It's not like, oh, I built my character wrong. This is the way the character was designed. Mm-hmm. And so the boss was designed to exploit a weakness that developers have forced upon my character.
Right. And that's bad. That's bad game design.
And the other bosses were like that too. One of them is this huge creature with a weak point on its back. And so my little fox is just hoofing it, trying to get behind this boss because the boss, he's so big, when he turns, he just takes 2 steps to the side, and he turns like 25 degrees. And so my little fox is just booking it, trying to get to the back. And I finally get to the back. And because of the isometric camera, the boss is like in front of me. And so I think I'm at the weak point. I think I'm at that location. I swing the sword, I miss, and the boss leaps all the way across the map. And so hoofing it all the way across the map, has the boss use his ranged attacks on me, get to the boss, can't actually hurt him because I need to hit the weak point behind. So again, just hoofing it around the boss as he turns. It's like, God damn it, then he jumps to the other side again. It's like, oh, Jesus Christ, just hoofing it. Like, poor little fox is running a marathon. And that it was so frustrating because it wasn't that the fight was hard, but it's hard because I was just never able to get a hit in, right? Like the boss kept moving out of my range. And so it's not a matter of trading blows. It's not a matter of like learning the attack patterns. When can I get in there? It's every time I get close, he jumps away. And it's like, oh god damn it. Okay, just hoof it back, hoof it back, hoof it back. And the other boss was kind of similar to that. But what really frustrated me is once you beat those bosses and you get the 3 items, the game takes a twist. And it's actually a really, really cool narrative twist. And the way the game expresses this narrative twist when all of its text is in a fantasy language that you don't understand is genuinely awesome. Like the fact that it's able to tell this story in a way that's like just through context clues and actions is really, really neat. Unfortunately, what that entails is you getting depowered and you basically all of your stats getting reset to the bottom. And you have to then go out through the world to find special locations that will reset that stat.
Got
So
it.
my attack power gets reset to 0. I then have to go through the world, find the item, find the place that will reset that stat to what it was. And I have to do that 6 times for the 6 stats in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, shit, this is just frustrating. Just having to backtrack through the world has a depowered version of myself. It just feels like filler. It feels like it's just forcibly extending the time because once you do that, you're in the end game. Once you do that, you can go fight the boss of the game.
Yeah.
And it feels like there's no reason why I had to do that 6 times. Especially because, this is a game that doesn't tell you everything. It's kind of puzzly. So it doesn't say go to this location. I have to remember, oh wait, where was that location? And I have to go through the map and put things together. And usually that's
Refer to your notebook that you should have been keeping from when you started the game.
yes. And that's not an issue. That kind of exploration, that kind of note taking wasn't an issue early on, but it becomes an issue when your character basically gets reset and I have to do this just in order to get back to the place where I was before. Because it doesn't feel like I'm making forward progress. It just feels like I'm going through this frustrating filler puzzle in order to get back to square one.
Right. So, question. One of the games that the game that you love right now is known for not doing a really good job providing instructions.
Mm-hmm. Elden Ring?
And then here it almost seems like you're frustrated by the fact that it's not providing instructions.
So I would say
Is this a double standard?
No, because the difference is that Elden Ring is just big enough that you can always go do something. And ultimately that game, it does offer you a much more fine-tuning of character. So if you find a boss that you're having trouble with, you can go off, level up a bunch, and then come back and fight that boss again. And it will be easier. And there's just more to do in Elden Ring. And it comes down to the fact that in Elden Ring, there's always something you can just swing a sword at. That's the core of the game, is you're just swinging a sword at something. And you might have to find things to swing a sword at. Sometimes the things that you swing a sword at are really strong. Sometimes they're really weak. But there's always something to swing a sword at. And in this game, it's not about that. It's about more than just swinging a sword at something. It's about like finding your way through the world. It's about kind of interpreting this language. There's more of a puzzle aspect to it that there's not in Elden Ring. Elden Ring is ultimately the obfuscation and confusion of Elden Ring is like at just a narrative level, but on a mechanical level, you level up, you get some magic, and then you fight shit. That's it. Like mechanically, Elden Ring isn't really hiding things from you, whereas this game does.
Right.
And what's also nice is Elden Ring doesn't really depower you at any point. And so there is this constant sense of forward progression where I might not know what the story is. I don't know what the context of my actions are within this larger world, but I know there's a tree monster over there that kicked my ass, but I'm now 10 levels higher, so I want to fight it again. And that's the loop of that game.
Mm-hmm. Got it. So, any other games?
Yes, I played Trek to Yomi, which is a game that came out just recently. This is one we had seen some time ago. It's the black and white side scroller samurai game.
Oh, yeah.
This one's on Game Pass, and it's neat, but I also feel like it's excuse me, uh, the style kind of gets in the way of. Oh wait, Bitter says that almost sounds like a prepared speech. Thank you. I really just came up with that off the cuff, so thank you for the compliment.
A ringing endorsement?
Yes, I assume it sounded much more eloquent than I anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, Trek to Yomi. I feel like the style kind of gets in the way of the gameplay because it's black and white.
It's
And
like
the
playing
camera-
a Kurosawa film.
Yes, which seems like it's really cool, but the camera's pulled back a little far.
Yeah, this one would
Um,
be hard.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see, like, okay, what exactly is my character doing?
It needs to be a higher contrast. Granted, that would change the aesthetic away from a black and white film, but yeah, this seems like it's a really hard game to play.
I have to sit
Well, you're
really
playing
close.
movie screens. You're not playing a game. You're playing movie screens. Obviously, they're very cinematic.
Yes, and they're meant to be. Um, I think what also kind of hurts it is that the combat is okay. I'm playing on the hardest difficulty. So because I had heard that its other difficulties are pretty easy. And I can see why, because even on the hardest difficulty, I'm kind of getting into this pattern of hacking and slashing. Uh, Enemies will run at you with a sword raised, and you time an attack right, and you can attack, blah blah blah, kill them. Um, but the timing of the whole movement just feels a little off. Like you can parry, but it's kind of unclear when you parry. Time kind of slows down to let you get in a counterattack, but it nothing feels snappy. It's not a snappy feeling game. It's kind of a slow game where you hit a button and it takes half a second for the character to respond. And so when you get into like a back and forth of a sword fight between, hey, he's trying to counter me and I'm trying to counter him, having that kind of slowdown makes it feel like I'm not really controlling this character. I'm stabbing them and then I'm hitting the counter button because I know that they're going to attack me and I've done this timing before enough that I know it works, but I'm not really following the character's movements. I'm not watching the enemy's movements and trying to time my attacks based on theirs. I'm just hacking and slashing.
Right.
But it's still,
God, it's gorgeous, though.
yes, it looks really neat. It's still fun to play, even if the combat doesn't feel as good as I wished it does. And it doesn't feel as good as it looks on screen.
Mm-hmm.
It's still fun enough that I want to keep playing. I've also heard it's pretty short, so like I'm in no. I want to see what the game has in store for me.
I'm kind of want to play it just simply because if you say it's pretty easy in the lower levels, I kind of want to play it just to play it to see it, not necessarily to play it.
And that's definitely an option. I think on the lower difficulty, there's even like a story difficulty where it's, hey, just play to see the story. So yeah, like
Well, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to watch a movie. And Bitter says it reminds me of Ken Seiden for the Sega Master System.
I don't know that.
Never had a Sega Master System, so.
And yeah, AC Wraith said that reviews are mixed on Steam. The sore parts are the combat and the controls. And yeah, I fully agree. It just feels like a game that should be snappier, and it's not. It doesn't feel bad. the first fight I got into, I died like 15, 20 times in a row just to try to get the timing down and realizing, oh, this is a much slower game.
This is
than
not
it
Elden
looks.
Ring. This is not most of the sword fighting games that you're used to, which is about, lightning fast reactions and
I mean,
parrying.
even then,
and-
like Elden Ring isn't about lightning fast reactions. Elden Ring can be slow. Like you hit a button and the character takes some time to swing the sword. But this game, it just looks like it should be faster. And like I said, I also had some issues with the. I've ended up like playing this game on the laptop, like sitting really close to the screen,
yeah, this
so
is
that
a big.
I can
this-
make out all the detail.
This is absolutely no. Is this available on console Game Pass or just PC Game Pass?
Both.
Okay, yeah, this is definitely something you'd want to watch on a big screen, not on a laptop.
Big screen and like maybe bump up the contrast on your TV a bit.
Yeah, because it is a bit soft, and I get that why they did that, but it does make it. I think that they could have probably given a little on the aesthetic just for that reason.
Yeah.
Because I can barely see, like, there's whole sections. There was one just on this preview that we were showing where the guy was fighting on a walkway next to an elevated walkway made of twigs next to a house. And then guys run up on him and the camera swings down and you can't see your own character unless you break the walkway to actually see the character. And I'm not quite sure how to play it any other way.
But yeah, it's definitely a good Game Pass game. I don't know if it's one that I would buy fully, but for Game Pass, yeah, I definitely want to play it to the end.
Yeah.
Although I will say the sound effects can get, at least on the harder difficulty, when I'm dying a lot, the sound effects can get kind of funny because it is just constant just all of those sound effects over and over again. Yeah, see if he can get into a fight and you can hear the sound effects of the sword fight. It feels like a kid playing with swords.
Of course, let's go back to where I was fighting.
Imagine that over and over. Imagine dying at that fight and then playing it again 10 seconds later. All those sound effects, dying at it, starting over 10 seconds later.
Oh, God.
It's just so much.
That'd be infuriating.
It's unintentionally hilarious.
Wow, look at that. AC Wraith gets a props from Bitters for bringing up the link because it got mentioned. Master System long play of Ken Seiden.
Okay, I'm checking this out real quick.
Bring it up. Link it up for me.
Okay, do that. Oh, geez. Share screen. Share screen.
I'm waiting. There it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I could see it. Oh, mute it.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Because that's coming through. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, it is a bit like Ken Seiden.
Yeah.
I definitely see that.
So, I wonder if I'm going to fight a giant flaming skull.
Are you playing it right now?
No.
Oh.
I'm just skipping through.
Oh, yeah, the giant flaming skull. So,
So yeah, that's all I've been playing.
Cool.
Those two games.
So my one game is a game that I've gone back to, and I am so sorry to do this to you again. Crusader King's Screen. So, there's so much in this game that I've never gotten into. And watching other people streaming it makes me realize how much I missed. Like, for example, and I haven't done it yet. I'm probably going to play it again and do it. I've never played it on Iron Man.
I'm getting a call. I don't know if you can see this from Japan.
Japan, yeah, no, I've gotten those too. They're robocolors.
Oh yeah, I know. I've never gotten one from Japan.
Yeah, I got one like 2 weeks ago that was from Japan. Or it's them calling saying, "How dare you make fun of? How dare you not like Trip to Yomi?"
Oh yeah, yeah. But it's made by a French studio, not a Japanese studio.
Yeah,
come on.
Crusader Kings. I have never played Iron Man. I feel now that I know enough that I can do that. And in Crusader Kings 3, Iron Man means you can't save. You can only it auto saves at the beginning twice a year. Beginning of the year, January 1st and June 1st of each year. However, you cannot actually go back to those saves and load them. It is only you can do it by resume. Like when you go into the game, you have to, it's for in case your game, freaks out and blows up.
Yeah. Oh, so you can quit and come back. You're not expected to play
right.
all of it
And that's the additional one is that you can quit. When it quits, it makes a save. So when you quit, you leave where you're going to be. That the twice a year saves is just for fatal errors or system shutdowns.
Beta says, "Oh, I thought you could play as Tony Stark."
No, I wish. No, it's not Iron Man. It's Iron Man, one word, not Iron Man, 2 words.
I mean, 2 words or 1 word?
I believe Iron Man is 2 words and Iron Man is 1 word.
I know Spider-Man has a dash.
Yeah. All right.
So Iron Man is
2 words. Right.
Yeah.
There you go. Because Iron Man is an adjective.
Okay.
Iron Man is a noun. It's a proper noun. So anyway.
Off that tangent.
Off on that crazy, grammar Nazi stuff that you and I both love. Another thing that I only just recently discovered is you can make a freaking coven of witches. Your ruler, whenever you rule, every once in a while, someone will give you the option to look at a book and read a book and discover the mysteries. And if you do, then you're labeled a witch. And if you are a Catholic nation, that is a very bad thing to be. It is a secret that you have to keep. And I was watching a stream and he was like, offered a witch. It's like, should I take it? Shouldn't I take it? I'm like, no. Why would you ever want to take that? And, I said that in the comments and he's like, well, if you want to make a coven. I'm like, what? You can make a coven? Yes, that is an achievement to make a coven of witches. And it provides you a lot of perks that I didn't know. So, yeah. In addition, I decided to, for some crazy ass reason, I've always started with something that was fairly easy to do. Like cushy starts. I'm already a king.
Okay.
I've never started as the king of a super small, with the exception of my very first game, which was Ireland. Or an Irish Duke. It wasn't even in Ireland at that point. I've never started as a small, petty king surrounded by really, really strong guys and trying to A, survive, B, expand, and C, take over the world. So I have restarted on Iron Man as the petty king of Cornwall, which if you know anything about history, Cornwall doesn't exist It does exist at the beginning of the game at 1067 or 1065 when you can start the game. By 1167, when is the other possible start that you can have, Cornwall doesn't exist. The empire, the kingdom is gone. So there was a Cornish kingdom. It stopped happening in like the 900s. So I decided to play as a Cornish king, trying to create an actual kingdom, because a petty king is not a kingdom. Petty king is more like a duke. An actual kingdom. And it is way harder to play Iron Man, because there are times when it's like, if I do this, like if I marry my son to this kid and I know that he's going to be king in just a few short years because I can see how old his father is, when the father dies, will it break the alliance that I make with that king, or will that transfer over because now the king is married to my daughter? The new king is married to my daughter. And it's like, I don't know. And normally I would just do it. And if it's fucked up, then I've just, like, okay, save.
Just reload.
Just save, try it, and reload. That is not possible with you play tight. And when you make a mistake, it hurts. It hurts so bad. I have done that where I made a mistake timing wise, and I forgot to start a claim for another, or I put a claim on one duchy, and then like 2 years later, something happens in another duchy, and you realize, oh shit, if I had a claim on them, I could actually get that that land is way better. That is what, if I'd have known that kingdom was going to collapse, then I would have been going for that claim instead of the claim over there. But
yeah,
you can't, or you just make a mistake. Like, God damn it, I forgot to do that. I meant to do that. I meant to marry my daughter to that guy, and now that guy is now betrothed. Fuck. I've had a lot of fuck moments. A lot of them. But once again, that game continues to not only deliver more interesting interactions, more challenges, different flavored challenges. And once I've said it before, it is a steep learning curve. It takes a lot of time, but it's like the opposite of poker, like easy to learn. It takes a minute to learn and a lifetime to master. This thing it takes a good couple weeks to a month to learn. And then after that, then you begin to realize that the mastery of this is so challenging, because every action has an interaction. And if you don't know what the interaction is, and it's not always explained, it couldn't. Even with the scads and scads of wikis online that you could go through, your particular situation is going to be different than anything that's discovered in a wiki. And you could try and look it up and hope that somebody had that same question in the forum somewhere. But if they didn't, you don't know how it's going to play out. And
it's just a matter of like playing enough that you kind of know generally what might happen and like what risks to take. Like, I know this could happen, but this is more likely to happen. I need to prepare for the more likely scenario.
When you have a kid and that you're raising that kid, and then you are given an option of that kid is now going to be compassionate, but you have an option in the raising of him. You get a prompt saying, do you let him continue being compassionate? Do you change him to being callous, or do you change him to being calm? One of those three things that you could do. And if you try to change him, you gain stress, and you might be at a very critical stress level. But if I had a kid that was compassionate or generous, if I had a generous child, that was going to be my heir, and I was going to get critical level of stress by changing him, I would absolutely change him. But you don't know that until you tried to play king that is either compassionate or generous. Because that's really hard. That is a very, very hard traits to work with. Because every time you try to do something, they're either guilty, they feel guilty and then they have more stress, or they're running you out of gold. And every time you try to give gold to somebody or try to take gold from somebody, even every time you try to collect taxes, they get stressed out. And then they, get overly stressed and then they pop a blood vessel and they die early. They're horrible to play. Compassionate characters and generous characters. Holy shit. So if you don't know those things by playing it a lot, so that's why Iron Man is only for the ironest of men and
Only
women.
for the experienced people, the experienced crusaders.
Well, or somebody who just is okay with the idea of everything going fucking wrong. It's a really good way to learn the game is get the basics, go into Iron Man knowing that this is not going to go well.
Oh yeah. I think that would be fun to do.
You will make all the mistakes and they will all hurt. But yeah, so that's what I'm doing. And incidentally, there is the reason why I went back to it is it's getting played a lot more because Paradox does a very good job of servicing the game, updating the game. They just had the Royal Court, which was just a few months ago that they released. God, it's maybe longer than that. Might have even been 6 months ago. I don't know. My sense of time is
I don't
off.
think it was that long ago.
It was not that long ago, which was a major update. They have since released another flavor pack, which was the Battle for Iberia or the Crusade for Iberia. I'm not quite sure, but it is a Spanish focused flavor pack, which creates all new interactions with when you're dealing with anybody from Spain. They keep on, so it's never the same game. I don't say never the same game. Once you start getting used to the interactions, you start seeing them and you start not reading the text because you know exactly what that interaction is, they will add a flavor pack to it that changes the interactions. So it becomes like this living, breathing game that's on the regular, not constantly, but on the regular becomes a totally different game. And it's just well done, Paradox. You do good strategy games, but that game, chef's kiss.
Nice.
There we go. AC Wraith. Cornish history. Stone Age to present day. Bitter says, hail, Houndra. So, question. Any other games that you've been playing?
No.
All right. You want to hit the news?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Let me go to the right banners and let's hit the news. This is the GameHounds news. The news, views, and commentary for the week in gaming with Gamer Edie and Nick DiNicola. And the first item is...
There are probably bigger news stories out there, but I'm the one in charge of giving news, so I'm making this the first news.
All right.
Elden Ring has
for
sold
fuck's sake.
incredibly well. It has actually outsold Call of Duty Vanguard.
That's not really... That's not really saying much.
No, that's... Hey, yes, the Call of Duty Vanguard had less sales than, like, the original Modern Warfare 2, but it's still Call of Duty, which is still a massive number of games.
True. They did it in 2 months. That's the other thing. They did it in 2 months.
Yes. And their first month sales almost got the same as Cyberpunk. So, hype levels kind of around the same level, but with...
But it was always... We knew that the hype level was that high. I mean, it's A, Elden Ring. B, J.R.R. Tolkien. J.R.R. Martin. Tons of reasons. We knew that Elden Ring was hyped. So the fact that it sold that many early on doesn't surprise me in the least. As much as Cyberpunk selling as many as it didn't surprise me in the least. The difference is that everybody's expectations and hopes were not only met, but in some cases, I think, exceeded by Elden Ring. And that has meant that not only were the pre-sales happy, it propelled even more sales. That's where hype works, because hype is word of mouth. And if you don't deliver a game that meets the hype, or makes people happy that purchased it early and succumbed to the hype, then it can be a double-edged sword. If you didn't deliver, it will come back to bite you. And whatever news, Cyberpunk, perfect example. I've heard, a pretty good game now. Even when it was released, I heard that the story was very good. Will I ever play Cyberpunk? Probably not. There's enough games out there that I have not yet played.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk is always like, yeah, one of these days I should do that. When a game hits one of these days, it's never going to get played.
It's never going to be that day.
You do not get a second chance to make a first impression on a highly hyped game like that. Elden Ring succeeded, where the hype was met with a great game that ended up propelling it, that I would venture to guess. I mean, it hasn't slowed down with the sales of Elden Ring at this point. They're still moving up. That's why it does not surprise me that Elden Ring has outsold Vanguard, because Vanguard came out and then people don't really like it very much.
It kind of fizzled. Right,
it fizzled. And it hit kind of the end of its sales cycle. And Call of Duties only have hype sales cycles, because they come out pretty much a new Call of Duty every year. In Elden Ring, this thing is going to sell for years. This is going to be like Mass Effect big, I think, if not bigger.
And I think it's interesting comparing these numbers to their other games, which have all sold like under 5 million about.
Yeah.
And so what's funny is if you compare the lifetime sales for the entire Dark Souls trilogy, all 3 games, their lifetime sales, Elden Ring has almost doubled it in a month.
Yeah.
So it's an
That's the
interesting
hype.
case. Yeah, it's an interesting case of like this niche games hitting that one moment, that ramp that just kind of shoots them off into the stratosphere, and puts them on a whole other level.
Didn't hurt that they attached one of the biggest names in fantasy writing of all time.
Oh yeah.
Early on, and at a time when that guy was at the top of his popularity. So it wasn't like they just, magically hit that sweet spot. They didn't hit the sweet spot. They made the sweet spot by attaching J.R.R. Martin to this.
Yeah, they did a lot right, and it's always nice. It's also nice to see like a large single player game doing well.
No Man's Sky, another case. Yep, another case that No Man's Sky never recovered from that bad impression because of the hype. Granted, that wasn't their fault.
It did recover, I would say.
It did, but no, not compared to the original hype. The original hype, they didn't manufacture that hype. That was something that was done by Microsoft?
Sony.
That was something that was done by Sony. So they kind of got fucked in that way, that somebody hyped them way more than they should have, considering what they were trying to do. But they probably sold it the way to Sony with that same language. And then... I don't know.
They made the infamous video that like showed off, this is what it will look like, and then it ended up not being that.
Right.
Anyways, it is nice to see a single player game doing really well, because
Fitter says J.R.R. Martin's GameHounds, don't miss it. I know. Yes.
Because live service games are kind of all they are making all the money,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, you can see why. The CEO of Take Two, Strauss Zelnick, has gotten a his contract has been renewed until like 2029. So he'll continue to be the CEO until 2029.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, there is a specific bonus clause in that contract that if they hit certain microtransaction numbers, he will get a huge bonus. They call them recurrent customer spending, so RCS items.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, if they hit a certain level of RCS items, he'll get a huge bonus, which makes a lot of sense as to why Take Two seems to be one of the most aggressive microtransaction companies in the industry.
Yeah. I'm sure the
But it,
CEO is like, is there enough? Is there enough microtransactions this? Can you put a couple more in just for me? Literally, just for me.
But it makes sense because in this article, it also mentions that Take Two earned $1.65 billion from April to December of 2021 on microtransactions.
Oh my God.
In that same span of time, full game purchases were around 890 million.
So they made 890 million and they made how many billion on microtransactions?
1.65.
Oh my God. So twice as much.
Yeah. So it makes
Oh.
sense that microtransactions, they bring in the money.
And we have no one to blame but ourselves. For all of us that complain about microtransactions, if microtransactions didn't work, Take Two would be making a third of the amount that it made last year.
Mm-hmm.
Microtransactions sell. They sold a lot of horse armor, as Major Nelson said very famously. They sold a lot of horse armor. The thing is that we say we hate horse armor. We say that we don't want loot boxes. We say that we don't want microtransactions, like a huge amount of just predatory microtransactions or pay to wins. But you know what? They make money, which means people buy them. So we have no one to blame but ourselves as a gaming community, because as much as we say we hate them, we buy them. Money talks, bullshit walks. So we talk a big game, but we also buy the microtransactions. I will bring my first item, which was one of your items. And this, I think, is the much bigger story. But then again, you're so deep in Elden Ring that you can't get your head out of your ass.
I just had to lift my boy. I had to rep for my boy.
What the fuck ever. So, Bethesda this week announced that both Starfield and Redfall, two games that were previewed and were to be released in 2022 this year, later this year, have both been delayed until the first half of 2023. Starfield notably was announced to have a hard release date in spring of 11/11/22, harkening back to the release of Skyrim. Well, on their Twitter page, Bethesda announced this week that they would not be releasing on that date. They said, and I'm bringing it up right now, we can't wait for you to play Starfield, but we need some more time. We are so thankful for all the support and encouragement and are excited to show you the new game. The official statement is we've made the decision to delay the launches of Redfall and Starfield to the first half, not the first quarter, the first half of 2023, which I think is telling.
Probably like this time.
Yes, this time next year. It's going to be a 1 year delay from delay to 1 year from, I'm guessing, this moment. Because if it was first quarter of 2023, that is January, February. So March, April, May. is going to be second quarter. No, let's see. January is first. Yeah, I think January's first quarter. It's fourth quarter. February, March, April, or maybe it's March, April, May, or March, April, May, or it is when anyway. It's going to be. I'm thinking probably May or June is when they're going to release it. But anyway, continuing on with their statement, the teams at Arcane Austin, Redfall, and Bethesda Game Studios, Starfield, have incredible ambitions for their games, and we want to ensure that you receive the best, most polished versions of them. We want to thank everyone for their excitement for Redfall and Starfield. That energy is a huge part of what inspires us, blah, 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 blah. We can't wait to share our first deep dive into the gameplay for both Redfall and Starfield soon. Another telling sentence. Thank you for your support. So, will Redfall and Starfield gameplay be available at the Xbox/Bethesda announcement in June? Probably. But they're making that decision. So, this has created a very interesting situation, to say the least, because first off, I'm super happy. I'm not angry about this at all. Super happy that if they need more time to make this good, case in point, we just had that conversation about hype. If they're going to make that good, yeah. Everybody watching, you really enjoying Nick typing on his computer?
What? Oh.
Every time you type on your laptop. See, this is why I don't like laptops. Or you need to get a stand for your camera that's separate from being on the head of your laptop. That's another idea.
It should be worth noting that the laptop's actually on a shipping box, so that it can get the height to get me right here. Otherwise, it'd be down a little bit.
Yeah, maybe we need to get you a stand for a lap. Anyway, besides that, so yeah, I'm okay.
I've been typing a lot, and
yeah, I am super okay. Well, that's the only time I noticed it. Super okay with them delaying it, because this is a game that has been hyped. Maybe not as much as Elden Ring, maybe not as much as other games, but it certainly has gotten some notoriety, and it's the first big new IP for Bethesda in a very long time. And to that point, Jason Schreier, who has pretty good connections within the industry, to say the least, have done a very good job. Usually is very, very accurate in his reporting. He sent out, shortly after that announcement was made by Bethesda, he sent out a tweet that said, quote, "Last spring before E3, I spoke to some folks on Starfield who were extremely worried about committing to an 11/11/22 date based on the progress they'd made so far. Next cyberpunk was the term that was floated. Good on Bethesda for delaying even after announcing that specific date." So yeah, cyberpunk was very good at one thing, being the thing that everyone wants to avoid. Yeah, so that makes me even more happy that they have decided to delay this, because the last thing we need is a Bethesda game being another cyberpunk. I think that might actually even hurt the industry at large, that people might just give up on believing in pre-ordering games if that happened.
I mean, they should already not pre-order games.
I know, but it's the only thing I can do as a fangirl is to pre-order the games that I'm really looking forward to. So
no, you can buy the game.
Yeah, true.
Buy the game at full price.
This
you can do.
Brings up a very interesting situation that was noted by people on Twitter, on other threads, and that thread as well. Without Starfield or Redfall, but mostly Starfield, there is no real AAA exclusive title coming out for Xbox this year. Except maybe, and we're talking about AAA exclusive title for Xbox. The only arguable one that we could have this year is Stalker 2. I don't know if I'd call that triple A
coming out this year.
But yes, it was it's still slated to come out in end of November, I think it is. It's still slated to come out, but Stalker 2 is being made by GSC Game World. GSC Game World, up until a few weeks ago, was based in Kyiv, Ukraine. They had to bug out of their offices. They are now in the Czech Republic. I'm sure that will have some, they've made statements. They're going to do their best to meet their release date that they had previously announced prior to the war. But at the same time, I'm sure I don't think anybody would fault them if they were delayed. I would be very surprised if they delivered the game as they intended to, on the date that they said that they would. But anyway, so now we're looking at a world where PlayStation Studios has released more games on Xbox than Xbox Game Studios has. Number one. PlayStation Studios have released more game on Xbox than Xbox Game Studios.
Oh, that's just sad.
Yeah, because of the pre-existing stuff. And Xbox has released nearly as many PlayStation exclusives as Xbox exclusives in the last 9 months.
Wait, what was that last one?
Xbox has released nearly as many PlayStation exclusives as Xbox exclusives in the last 9 months.
Oh, being 0.
No, they've because of the few. Yes.
Oh, but right, technically,
there were a couple that they had to release as
Ghostwire Tokyo and not Doc, the time traveling one, Deathloop,
right? Yeah,
that's right.
Because they were PlayStation exclusives published by Xbox because they purchased them, and it was a pre-existing contract.
Yeah, okay. I remember
Xbox. It's just a weird. This is what happens when companies are purchased and games get delayed. It's a weird world we're living in at the moment.
Like this is also coming on the heels of the Halo Season 2 being generally not well received, and Halo Infinite feeling like it suffered from a lot of development hell.
Right.
The last generation, the Xbox One cycle, we know Microsoft completely flubbed their internal development during that whole cycle. Like games fell through. They lost a whole bunch of internal studios. The solution to that, under Phil Spencer, has been to just buy their way out of it.
Right.
Just buy studios and have those studios put out games. In this situation, throwing money at that doesn't really seem to help, because you still need those studios to put out games, and sometimes just throwing money at the problem doesn't help. I remember they did that with Perfect Dog. Mm-hmm. They created a new studio with the intention of making a remake of Perfect Dog.
Right.
And 4 years later, we have nothing. And then at the same time, you've got them buying Bethesda. And look, Bethesda at least has a good track record of being able to put out games.
Right.
So I don't think that was a bad bet.
No, it's not a bad bet, but it's the nature of that awkward first year of purchasing a studio, and
yeah. And
I'm sure that the purchase of the studio has something to do with it too, because Starfield certainly with Starfield. Starfield, they were working on Starfield. They knew that they were going to do Starfield in what, 2013?
Oh yeah, they were working on that long before the acquisition.
Yeah, because they filed for the copyright in 2013. So they've been kind of at this for a decade before this whole sale was even a twinkle in anyone's eye. So I'm sure the sale might have had some issues. Well, the sale, COVID.
Oh yeah, definitely COVID.
The complete destruction, the shortage of chips, tons of other things the supply chain issues that played into this that are resulting in what we have right now. But it's just a kind of an interesting kind of fun factoid of this moment in time that probably wouldn't have been duplicatable except for the perfect storm of events that have happened in the last year to 2 years.
I think the one big takeaway from this, at least not big takeaway, the takeaway is that I'm hesitant to have any big takeaway because, like, we know the last generation, Microsoft really fumbled internal development. They seemed to have been doing a lot better this generation, but you have instances like Halo Infinite coming out without a whole bunch of features. You've got Bethesda delaying games.
Right.
You've got Perfect Dark still isn't out. Fable we have nothing about. Obsidian, another studio they bought, is supposedly working on a big first-person fantasy game called Avowed. Heard nothing about that. They've still announced a bunch of stuff, but haven't followed through. So the question about whether or not Microsoft has actually fixed their internal development issues feels like it's still an open question.
I think it's an open question, but maybe not as... It's more open than it would, I think, normally be, simply because of the events of the world. If in a different world, like if this all happened in 2018, I think that the open question would be far more pointed. I think that this time, everybody deserves a free pass on whatever's happening.
Yeah,
shit's just going to happen.
The past 2 years have really impacted development to a degree that we consider them lost.
Yeah.
Just consider them gone.
These are the times that you're going to tell your grandkids about how there were more Xbox, more PlayStation exclusives that were made by Xbox than Xbox exclusives made on Xbox.
Yeah.
And
I will say I was
go on. Bitters Plus is asking for a Don Matrick quack. Don fucking Matrick, go fuck yourself.
His ghost still haunts the console.
It always will.
But I was looking up. That's what I was typing. Is there are 2 Xbox exclusives for this year. There is Warhammer 40,000 Darktide in September, which I honestly don't know much about that. I think that's like a Left 4 Dead-esque game, but in the Warhammer universe.
Oh, really? That's an interesting idea.
And then there's the horror game Scorn.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd call them AAAs. I'd call them games. I'd call them double A's.
I'm not saying they're the AAA games. I'm just saying those are the 2 Xbox exclusives for this year.
Right.
That is what's left.
This is the year, my friends. This is the year that either we will have nothing to play on the Xbox, certainly the Xbox Series X. We will have nothing to play on the Xbox Series X this Christmas, or there will be a shadow developer that does the next big thing, because you're going to have a bunch of people desperate to play games, and there's really no games to play on it at this point. Not saying that there's no games. Thank God for the streaming. Thank God, not the streaming, but Game Pass. Thank
Yeah.
God for Game Pass. That being said, this is an opportunity that is once in ever to happen for small to medium publishers to be able to have the big release of Christmas 2022. I'm
Although,
sure
yeah.
there's a number of them that are eyeing that.
That then, I think, brings me into a story that I'd forgotten to tell you about. So I don't think there's no banner for it. But there's a good article
What's
on.
the sound? Sound of the singing in your?
Oh, that's probably the wind coming through
Oh,
the
oh,
window.
oh, okay. I'm sorry. It sounded like a choir in a game.
Oh no, it's literally that like.
Got it.
I should close the window, but I have a cat on my lap.
No.
so-
Go ahead.
Which AC Rates says he's commenting on the fact that I had to raise the webcam. He says that what he hears is we had a better angled kitty cam until I MacGyvered a stupid human focused cam.
Yep.
Which, fair.
Yeah.
But anyways, there's a good article on Waypoint about a developer's struggle with Game Pass, and it's specifically the developer, the Game Bakers, about their game Fury. Well, they made Fury, and then they made Haven. And I talked about Haven a while ago. It's actually one of the first games I played on Game Pass, and it's a really, really cool, like actual romance game, romance sci-fi game that I think was really, really good. But the Game Bakers I guess they had some open time in their development, and they put out an update to Fury, which is actually Furi, just because I don't know SEO. But they're making an update to it. They're putting it out on PC and PlayStation, but not Xbox. And when people asked them about that, they said that it's because Game Pass doesn't allow them to justify the costs of porting that update to Xbox, because like they don't get any extra money from people playing it. If they put out that update on PlayStation or PC, so more people could buy the game. They put it on Xbox, people can just get it on Game Pass, and Microsoft did not say, "Oh, we'll give you like extra promotion for having updated the game." So there's kind of no benefit for updating the game on Xbox.
Right. Diminished returns
and-
for the work involved.
Yeah. And what's interesting is they put out like a couple graphs of basically downloads of their game per platform. One with Game Pass and one
Do you
without.
have that graph handy? I would love to
yes.
see that,
I do.
because I don't know anything about this.
So let me scroll down to it. Okay, so this is for Haven. This is the game that I played on Game Pass. Haven units. These are the downloads that include Game Pass, and you can see that Game Pass took up a vast majority of downloads of that game. When you don't include Game Pass, all of a sudden Steam becomes the vast
Right.
majority of download. And so what
Steam
that
is the biggest fish in the small pond.
Yeah. And so what that meant was they got an upfront payment for like development to put their game on Game Pass. But at a certain point, if Game Pass counts for a majority of those downloads, then that upfront payment doesn't necessarily cover that. If you consider those 75% lost sales, then the upfront money they got to put it on Game Pass is less than those sales. But
Yeah.
those are not lost sales, right?
No,
There are
no,
tons of
because most people
who-
would not have purchased them, not have downloaded it. Even if, but do they have a calculation as to what is the normal amount of percentage lost?
No, they don't. But what they also get into is this question of when the thing is, I can buy a game that's on Game Pass, right? Like you can go to Game Pass, I can download the game, play it as part of my subscription,
Mm-hmm.
or I can actually buy it and keep it permanently so that if it ever goes off Game Pass, I still have access to it. 99% of people do not do that.
Right.
They have found that even though there is the option to convert like the Game Pass download to a sale, that almost never happens. And so just the Game Pass it's basically only that upfront cost of development. And yeah, it's an interesting article that kind of goes into how Game Pass may be changing the way developers look at the cost of development.
Right.
And something that's an instance where, from what we've heard rumor wise, most people are happy with the money they get upfront for Game Pass and putting it on there. But there's going to be some people that are not happy. Like we saw this a couple weeks ago with the Oddworld game on PlayStation Plus.
Yes. I was just looking that up because I remember we talked about this 2-3 weeks ago about how one of the games that was that because it released at the beginning of the pandemic, that they had calculated that they would only have XYZ so many downloads on Game Pass, and that so they put it on. They took the development money, they put it on Game Pass, and then they had so many downloads because the pandemic hit and nobody had anything to do but for the first few months but to sit at home and watch Netflix and play games. And that very much hurt them.
Yeah. And so I think this is interesting, not in like a, oh, look at Game Pass is dooming people, but more that Game Pass is a relatively new phenomenon in the industry, and even like the free games on PS Plus is relatively new. And it's interesting that I think we're finally starting to see the downriver consequences of these new I don't know what to call them. Like, we're not purchasing games, these new services, right? These new ways to pay for games, to play for them.
Right.
These subscription services. Like, we're starting to see how subscription services can change the actual development of video games.
Yeah.
And it's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. And it seems to me that Game Pass is a really, really, really good place for small to medium developers to get a game out, to get money, to get, development money in order to make a slightly bigger game and put it onto Game Pass. It is not a great place for someone who has a game that they think is good enough to make money, because once you've put it on Game Pass, people aren't going to buy it.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a deal with the devil. It's a bit like selling your soul, where it's like, we just need the money to develop this. And if it wasn't going to be a game prior to this, then if it wasn't going to be a game prior to the money coming in from Microsoft, then it makes sense. If you've already got a good game and you're taking that money just to make it greater, then you're hurting yourself, because if it could stand on its own so that people would want to buy it, you're better off getting the buy it.
And I've noticed that about myself too, is I'll look at a game and go, oh, that's on Game Pass, I don't have to buy it.
Right.
I wouldn't, like, things that I normally would spend money on, I don't do it.
Same exact. Why?
And
why would I? There is no guilt, and should be no guilt from us for not buying a game off of Game Pass that we enjoy. Like, we play it, we enjoy it, and then pay. No. We pay a subscription every month, and that will probably get more expensive. We have paid for it. We will continue to pay for it. So we're not getting the game for free. I will, if it's a game that you want to own forever, absolutely. But no one who is paying for a subscription should feel obligated to pay for a game just because it's on, you enjoyed it off of Game Pass.
Yeah, it's like the most you can do.
They're
is
not running a
hope.
charity, and neither am I.
Yeah, the most you could do is just hope that some percentage of your subscription money is paid to them in a way that's fair.
I think that is up to them to make that decision. I mean, I know that sounds a little callous, but it's not, and I think that also developers understand that. You can't look at consumers like we're doing something wrong because we're buying things off of Game Pass. We're doing it. It is a complicated bit of calculus that developers will roll the dice on. And if they roll right, then it works out great for them. If they don't roll right, then that's not my fault.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of resent the fact that they are, well, I don't know. It depends on, I have to read the article to see the tone that they take with it. But
yeah, it's not an angry tone. It's more of just like a
cautionary.
Yeah, like cautionary. This is unfortunate tone. It's a very good article. I encourage people to read it. Okay. It's on Waypoint, Vice.com/games. One dev struggle may show how Game Pass is already changing games.
Right. And if you want to read about, and AC Wraith said it was last month that we talked about it, PlayStation Plus was devastating for Oddworld. So my only other item, and then it's on the Nick show.
Okay. Well, when you do that, I'm going to go get an adapter.
Oh, and close your window.
Okay. Oh, yes.
It's super loud.
Yeah, it's getting really windy.
Yeah. Which means in California, that means we're due to have a wildfire that's going to, burn us out of house and home any minute now. Oh man, Nick's leaving, and this is sort of an article for him. Ubisoft confirmed officially this week. Now, we'd heard rumors. We had seen indications that Skull and Bones was coming and that they were working on it and it was due out. Same thing with Avatar, same thing with Rabbids. But Ubisoft's pirate ship battle game that is spawned from the Assassin's Creed Black Flag, that has been delayed. We did see that test footage last week that made us realize, oh, maybe this is happening. It is officially happening. Ubisoft confirmed that we will indeed see this game, Skull and Bones, in this financial year, which is before April 21st, 2023. So that's the answer to my question. When's the end of the first quarter? First quarter is April. So April, May, June would be when we see Starfield. But yeah, first quarter of the financial year, April. So before April 1st, 2023 is when we're going to see Skull and Bones. Also, they said Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, which is being developed by the Division Studio Massive Entertainment. It's going to be the first. It's also coming out during before the first quarter of 2023, and it was announced more than a year ago. So, more than 5 years ago. So it's been a while since we've heard anything about that. And same with the Rabbids game. Just in time for Nick to come back. Man, I should have told him that this was a short one. Jesus, what the hell? Nick, it's not worth it. It's not worth it, Nick. Please come back to me. I have nothing else to talk about. There we go. Welcome back. I've already covered the topic. It was a short one. You should have asked if it was a short one or not.
Skull and Bones?
Yes. Well, Skull and Bones, yeah, it's officially, because you probably don't have this topic, officially going to be, it was reconfirmed, but it's going to be coming out before the first quarter of 2023. So before April 1st, 2023.
I'll believe it when I see it.
So they said Ubisoft has now confirmed it and reconfirmed it in 2 separate meetings this week.
We have seen what happens with confirmed release dates. But I was just going to say, Starfield getting delayed to 2023 means that our bet of when Elder Scrolls 6 comes out is getting more and more likely. I had said at the earliest 25. I think that's what I said.
Yeah.
And that's looking more. I would even extend that out further now.
You go 2026?
Yeah, I would.
Jesus. Is it going to come out before my 60th birthday? I mean, we're getting close. It's getting very close to my 60th birthday that when we start talking those years. So yeah, that's the only one thing that I have. What's your next item?
Okay. Some quick things. There was a stream. The EA team behind Dead Space did a stream, and they had announced a release date for January 27th for the Dead Space remake.
Oh.
Which, that sounds really cool.
So this is just a remaster of the original Dead Space for next gen?
Modern consoles. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's cool. I said 2024?
Oh.
I was that early. That seems even. There's no way it comes out in 2024. Not a chance.
AC Ray said it. It's true. He keeps track. Oh my God, he's such a great PDA. Oh, I love this.
You know
Nick
what?
caught on his bullshit.
What? No, I had said 25 and then extended it out. Seeing 24, I'll be wrong again. I think it'll be even funnier if all of us guessed too early.
And where's Andrew? Hey, we need Andrew on here to respond to this.
Yeah, his estimation for when Elder Scrolls 3 comes out is actually when Starfield comes out.
I'm totally gonna give him a hard time right now. I am totally sending him right now. Sorry, did I want to do that?
Yeah, we are definitely wrong. I said 24. I'm definitely wrong on that. There's no way it's coming out then.
I'd say, well, yeah. No. Could it?
No.
Could it? Let's see. Nick, I'm texting a text to Andrew right now. Hey, your guess for when Elder Scrolls 6 comes out will be when Starfield comes out. LOL. And I am now attaching that photo of our screenshot of you guys to the thing. All right. And desktop and the screenshot and make it not in the middle of it. Come on. Here we go. Enter. All right. We'll see what Andrew says. So, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, other stuff.
Let's see. AC Ray says, you made multiple bets. GameHounds. MS purchases ZeniMax Bethesda. Chaos claims new Elder Scroll in 3 years or less. Nick says 5.
Okay, so they bought them last year, right?
Yeah.
So if they bought in
GameHounds 597. Edie wants Heavy Rain sucks on her tombstone. No. E3. Nick, no Elder Scrolls 6. Maybe Bioshock. Edie, maybe Dragon Age. Andrew, Evolve 2. We should, AC Wraith, write this down that on
Google Sheets that we can all share.
On November 1st, you and I need to get together. I think that at the end of the year, we should have a show of you, me, and Andrew getting together and going over all of our predictions.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun.
And I need to do this a month ahead because I got to go back to each of these shows and pull out those clips so that we can play the clips. AC Wraith, write this down. My little PDA, write this down to remind me on November 1st to start working on that show with you so that we could create the, end of the year show. Instead of it being, our games of the year, we'll just talk about our predictions of the year and how wrong we were. And we'll have a score sheet.
That just means we'll also have to make E3 predictions. See how those turn out.
Well, when is that? That is happening in a couple of weeks. So we've got a couple of weeks to figure out E3. Well, we do have some E3 predictions of what's going to be mentioned. We've got this one right here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll go over our last year predictions. Bitter says that sounds more dramatic.
Blood Reaper has a good. If AC Wraith is a link bitch, he's the news bastard.
Hey, Blood Reaper, you are officially now dubbed the news bastard. We treat our audience and our fans so well. I mean, we've had, our community manager
Was
Piss
the
Boy.
Piss
We've had our link lookup and essentially our secretary, the link bitch, and now the guy that actually gives us tips, the news bastard. Yeah, we're so nice to our people.
Oh yeah.
So
Anyway, other things. Remedy also had kind of a stream where they talked about Alan Wake. There's the Alan Wake remaster is coming to Switch in the fall, but they also reiterated that they're still making an Alan Wake TV show.
Oh yes, that's right.
It will apparently come out on AMC, the channel, not the theaters.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm okay with that. AMC does a good job. And AMC is the exact right audience for that.
They do. They also said it's still early, so don't expect it anytime soon. It's basically just a confirmation that hey, we're still working on this.
And I like AMC because they tend to not be vicious towards shows that take a while to catch on. Frequently when you're talking about science fiction and fan, honestly, I don't necessarily call this science fiction, but frequently when you're talking about long form narratives, supernatural stuff, it takes a little while for things to catch their stride. It takes, for people to get into the story. And, Walking Dead, case in point. I mean, first couple episodes of Walking Dead, I was like, meh. And it was like, oh no, you got to get the third episode or so. And then it really picks up. Mm-hmm. So there's a number of other studio networks that would not allow things to catch fire. Case in point, Expanse. You couldn't have put Expanse on anywhere else. They would have cut it because I don't think that it had early on because it needed word of mouth. It needed people that have read the books to talk to the people.
Expanse wasn't on AMC. It was on
It started, huh?
It was on Sci-Fi.
Oh, well, you're right. Never mind. Ignore that.
It also started. It was the right era of Sci-Fi when they were really investing into scripted shows and were willing to let them breathe. Right. I don't think Sci-Fi is that anymore.
Yeah. No. Yeah. After they canceled The Expanse and it got picked up by Amazon and then went on to great things until it didn't. So yeah, next item.
EA. This is actually another news item that's probably really big that we haven't talked about before now, but they're losing the FIFA name. There have been rumors about this for a while that EA... God, there's cat hair everywhere. They've been arguing back and forth that EA says the FIFA name just is not worth the money they pay for it because they still have contracts with all the individual teams. Mm-hmm. So they're still going to have all those teams and all the players.
Right.
They just lose the FIFA branding. And so the game is now just going to be called EA Sports FC for football club. Um, and they are
Well, they will
spinning
find
this.
out if the FIFA name makes a difference.
Yeah, and they are spinning this as a positive, as like this is going to allow us to try new things. And this is something they even said
They
before that, like,
couldn't
oh,
try new things because FIFA stopped them?
yes, that like FIFA stopped them from changing too much development wise, or like they had to put changes past FIFA. They had to get authorization, and FIFA took
Oh, what
too
a pain in the
long, so they
ass.
couldn't do that.
Wow, EA getting caught in a bureaucratic nightmare of an uncaring overlord putting the clamps on everything that wants to do creatively. What a fucking surprise! How a terrible situation.
And FIFA has put out a rival statement that basically says we're already working on projects with other partners.
Really, honestly, dudes, do people? I mean, I guess
I mean, the question of does the FIFA name mean anything? I think that's an open question.
that is an open
There,
question.
EA's football games sell really well. The football and soccer games sell really well, and yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see if they keep that up without the FIFA name. If anything, it might open up if like Konami, if they put out FIFA 24, if people are like, oh, hey, this is the FIFA, like if it's just called FIFA 24, that's kind of what the EA games were called. So you could kind of ride that confusion.
Especially if Konami did it, because then they aren't subject to American copyright laws.
Oh yeah. But
Because
like
that's the whole
what-
thing about copyrights, is that they could absolutely go after them, because if they're trying to do it in a confuse consumers, that's exactly why you have copyrights.
But can they do
And
that
trademarks, I should say. That's why you have trademarks.
But
Is
can
it
they-
specifically not for that?
can they trademark it when FIFA was the name of the series, right? Technically, it was EA Sports FIFA, but everyone just saw FIFA 19 on the cover. If another publisher comes in and makes FIFA 20, can you trademark that?
I'm
Because-
sure they've trademarked something. I don't know what their trademarks are, but they must have some way to trademark that. They must have foreseen this being a possibility. What if our contract with FIFA ends? That must have been a consideration that EA had when it started FIFA. It is pretty obvious when you're getting into a contract. What do you do at the end of the contract? Or what do you
Maybe.
do if the contract
I don't know
ends?
if I would put it. I think giving them too much credit.
That's exactly the kind of questions that their legal department, it's like the first question with their legal department. That is the first question it's part of the contract, is at contract termination, what happens to the properties. It's kind of like going into a marriage. You know exactly what's going to happen to the properties unless you create another contract that supersedes that. So, anyway, interesting. We will have to watch. And we will also this year see what is the value of FIFA.
Yeah.
Are the FIFA games selling because people like the games? Are the FIFA games selling because they like the players? Are the FIFA games selling because it's FIFA? We're about to find out the value of FIFA, because we're about to A/B that shit.
Yeah. In other news, a lawsuit against Valve is going forward. This is a lawsuit from Wolfire Games, who allege that Valve used its storefront to basically control PC gaming, to force. If I remember the details, it's basically that they force developers to not sell games on other platforms at a lower price than you would on Steam. And they kind of use that as a way to, just kind of bully the market. And that a judge has allowed that lawsuit to move forward. So it's not getting dismissed. There's no real comment on its merits, but yeah, it's just being allowed to move forward. So we'll probably hear more about this in the future.
Sorry, I didn't hear a word you said. I was typing.
That's okay.
Blah blah blah. And also a lot of things in the chat room. Bitters is saying, I should move to China and start a podcast called GameHounds and go under the name Eddie Denicola.
You could totally get away with it too.
And Pist says it would be hard to put in a contract with FIFA that no one else can use the FIFA name if they split. No, but they might have to. I'm sure they outlined that you couldn't create a game FIFA 24, or you couldn't create a game that could be confused with whatever we've named our games. Like
You
they
couldn't
probably
use the
have it
same
in there that
naming
that
structure.
that the name of the FIFA is owned by FIFA, but the name FIFA 24 or FIFA with the year at the end of the name is owned by EA when it is in the realm of a video game. I'm sure they have something in there. I can't believe that they wouldn't have something like that. And I just okay, cool. That got sent. AC Wraith, there is a message to you in the chat. So yeah, Steam's antitrust lawsuit fails to get dismissed. Is there any indication of when we might hear?
Nothing about that. Just that it didn't get dismissed. It's moving forward.
Well, then it'll probably get settled.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah. Pist says, but it is a general sports game vernacular that it is the brand year. That's
the confusion.
What's right, and this is what's going to. If the language is not already in there to deal with this eventuality, then and there is a lawsuit, this is where that argument is going to be. We're arguing two sides that will absolutely be argued in court. And if there is no already precedent to establish that, precedent will probably be set for something like this.
Yep.
But now you're thinking like a lawyer. So, next item.
Nintendo has announced the Switch is still selling well, even as they have basically downplay. They've sold less this quarter than they thought. They originally had said they expect to sell 23 million Switches. Then they lowered that to 24. In truth, they only sold 23 million, but 23 million units is still doing pretty well. It's still handedly outselling PS5 and Xbox. Right. And it's worth noting that at this point, the Switch has outsold the PS4.
Wow. That is saying something.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also coming in, because what's the price of a Switch now?
Oh, I think it depends. I think the base model is 300.
See, it's coming in at such a lower price point than the other
And then they
consoles.
have the portable only version that I think is 250. And then they have an OLED version, and maybe that is 300 now. Maybe that took over from the original.
Right. And that's the thing. That is an evidence of price. Price.
And you can actually find them.
Mm-hmm. And you can find them. Yeah, that too.
Okay, so the OLED model is 350. The original version is 300. The portable only is 250.
It's a really tight. It's also a very tight pricing. 250, 300, 350.
Yeah.
There's not this huge $200 jump between one and the other. Anyway, moving right along.
And then we know last week we talked about how there was one person playing Babylon's Fall.
That one guy, as we called him then. The next day after we did the show, that one guy got identified.
Yes, and his name is Dashiell Wood, who is actually a journalist for Gfinity, which I don't know what that is. I think it's probably like a game game journalist site or a game site.
Mm-hmm.
Let's search for Jaffinity. Yeah, it's like an esports site. So it's basically someone playing it. He says finds it flawed but charming, and
There's his website.
he wants to convince his friends to play with him. And it's funny because there's a VGC story that said the original VGC story that said Babylon's Fall dropped to one concurrent player. He responded on Twitter saying, "Just not a joke. This is literally me."
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now. See if I can find a picture of him. There he is. Stand by. Is this him? Yep, Infinity. Sorry. It opened in a new tab. Here he is. Dashel Wood. Freelance journalist. Dashel, congratulations on your 15 minutes of fame of being that one guy.
And he has some good points. He says that he thinks the reason that Babylon's Fall is so empty is that it has some pretty aggressive microtransactions, and also the visuals are dirty, blurry, and muddy that can make it pretty unpleasant. So lots of microtransactions.
Then why is he trying to get people to play it?
Because he does say that he finds the combat pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
That he thinks it's just a generally fun game to play. And he actually said he hopped on that night of May 3rd because the game had recently wrapped up a limited time event. And he was like, let me see what's new in the store now that this event has ended. And went there to kind of see, hey, there's not much else going on.
So all he was going in, checking the store, and leaving, and that was it.
I mean,
that was the only action that happened that hour.
Yeah, pretty much. He said he logged in a bit before bed to check things out.
All right, so
yeah, and he said there's a lot of depth to the combat when experimenting with different builds. But
so any information on did they reach out to him and give him a T-shirt? Yeah, did Platinum give him a T-shirt or a hat or something? I mean, he kind of deserves it.
No,
just wrong.
But it is interesting that he has said he wants to finish it. Because he has played both it, Balan Wonderworld, and Left Alive. And all three of those are games that are notoriously bad.
Yeah.
And he has said, it's my flawed but charming trilogy.
All right, so next item.
Okay, next item. Okay, this is one that I didn't really experience.
Yeah, it must be.
And I only heard about it after the fact, but last weekend, Microsoft seemed to have a really tough time. The Xbox network.
I heard about that too.
A lot of people were unable to play games.
My Twitter lit up. Yeah, you just spill.
No, Jupiter is biting at pens, and I'm trying to slap him away.
Network was out. People couldn't play games. Of course, every time this happens, it becomes this is why you can't do always online for consoles, because a lot of people were locked out of their games because they couldn't be verified.
Laptops. Jesus. The cat is goes up to the corner of the laptop and is like, I could eat that. Fine, chew a pen. That's at least better than a laptop.
Yeah, that's right. Now that's how he gets your pens. Is it's like, all right, you're gonna take the pens away. I'm gonna chew your laptop, and now I've got the pen.
Just lower the standards.
Right.
Okay. Yes.
So, Xbox being out, what information do you have? I just heard about it. I didn't go into the details other than it being out for a really long time, and people were very, very angry.
Friday afternoon, and they had said that they were rolling out a fix, and of course they kind of did, but it didn't help about people, and it went throughout Sunday, and it looks like by 2 p.m. Well, no, by 1:30 a.m. Eastern on Sunday, the issue is fixed. So like by around midnight or something
Right, but it
Saturday.
was a whole weekend, and of course, people have their plans for the weekend to play a game, especially Elden Ring.
Yeah,
There were
and-
a lot of people looking to play Elden Ring over the
And-
weekend and couldn't.
I don't know. It feels like it should be a game by game basis because some games require online connection, some games don't. Like Elden Ring doesn't require an online connection. So in theory, even if the network was down, you should still be able to play it.
No, most of those games that you say don't require a network connection do. For-
Elden Ring does not.
If you I can guarantee that if you disconnected your internet, you would not be able to play Elden Ring for very long because, of course, they still phone into the server to make sure it's
PlayStation.
You can? Well, maybe not on Xbox.
Maybe. I mean, I know that
I know that there were a lot of people complaining that they weren't able to play Elden Ring on Xbox.
I know that it does that with Game Pass games, which I at least
Obviously.
understand. Like, I feel like that's a fair thing to do because it's a subscription service.
Right.
But for a single player game that you download that
Haven't
then
you
you're
ever
not-
had that where your I mean, I've had that. Your internet goes out and it's asking you to what is it? What's the word?
Yes, I had that
verify.
I had that happen to me while playing Elden Ring. It said lost connection to the server, booted me to the main menu. Then I hit continue, and it loaded me back to where I was in offline mode. And I kept playing.
Okay. Interesting. Anyway,
So yeah, I know that there is what might have been happening is I know there's an issue that if the Xbox is not your home Xbox and you play a game or you download a game, then since it's not your home Xbox, it might think that you're playing on someone else's. Like I know there's a way to tag a console has your primary console. And so if you are logged onto that console, any of the games you play, like you can you can download them and play them offline.
Mm-hmm.
But then if I load my profile onto someone else's console and download a game,
right.
then I won't be able to play that.
Or
offline.
if you game share, because Pissed is in the chat room, and I believe I'm still on a game share with Andrew. I could still be. It says I had problems because I game share with someone and my Xbox is not my home Xbox. That is when you run into problems. If you are on your home Xbox, you should have no trouble. You should, he's put in quotes, should have no trouble.
Yeah, and this article on Kotaku specifically says that should have happened, and there's no word yet on why that wasn't the case this time.
Mm-hmm.
And so it could be that for some reason the Xbox network got confused about whose console was their home console and thought that people were playing on not their home console.
Mm-hmm.
Which again is just kind of a sucky situation.
Yeah, it is a sucky situation. So, next item. Have they said anything about compensation for people? Because that's a really long outage,
no, they
a whole
haven't.
weekend.
Hey, hang on. I'm going to open this door so that the cats can go out because they're getting antsy.
Why did you lock them in with you?
Well, because when I came back, I closed the door because I thought they would want to sleep. But then by moving around, I woke them up and they're like, hey, now we're awake.
Yeah.
So,
All right. So, next item.
do I have any other items? I'm trying to look behind my webcam.
Let's
Oh,
see.
there's the Diversity 2 issue.
Diversity 2 issue?
No, the Activision thing.
Oh, you do. No, we're not going to talk about that because neither one of us has really looked into it enough to be able to speak on it.
Okay. I've got a couple interesting ones that we don't have banners for. This is one I just found while scrolling. The Summer Games Fest by Jeff Keighley.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, it's coming to IMAX theaters. And you'll be able to buy tickets to watch the Summer Game Fest showcase in IMAX. Which seems like an interesting idea.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, at the very least, it's kind of a cool way to be part of that public show. To have a public show that's not actually public, like basically create little mini public communities around the world.
it's not a bad idea. I would do that. I would do that. There is something very dynamic about being in a theater of people discovering something all at the same moment about video
Yeah.
games. That's one of the reasons why I do miss E3 is going to the press conferences and being there and hearing something that makes you go, holy shit! And the whole place either losing their minds or, having this group cathartic experience a couple of times when it was announced that Final Fantasy was coming to Xbox. I was in the room, I think it was like third or fourth row for that one. That was like, what? Like the whole was like, what? Then when they debuted years before it released, The Last Guardian, the whole place was like, what was that? Holy shit, what was that? Like it was a moment that I will remember to the day I die, of like being in a room full of people where everybody got goosebumps all at once. It was pretty neat. So yeah, if you've never been to an event where you're sharing it with people, and like especially people that are all passionate about games, I recommend going to Summer Games Fest with IMAX theaters, wherever you are.
So, for reference, it is June 9th at 2 p.m. Eastern. So I think that's 11 a.m. West Coast.
Yep.
That's when the tickets will be.
See, no, 11, 12, 1, 2. Yes. And there you go. There's the tickets available. They're on sale now. Find out information if you are interested. All right. Any one of the other quick ones?
Yeah, the last thing I have is someone on Twitter named Dusk Golem shared a bunch of images from what is supposedly a Silent Hill game in development. And those images are gone now because apparently Konami has DMCA'd them and had them taken down. There's still
Well,
some
I don't know if that's an indication if they're true or if they're false.
Yeah, right.
It might. I mean, it leads you to believe that it's true, because how could you DMCA something that's not yours?
And there's not much to say about the images because it's like they're mostly just of a dirty room. It looks like Silent Hill. It's interesting. Like, we've heard rumors of Bloober Team working on a Silent Hill game, which I'm not super thrilled about, but it'd be interesting to see something new from them.
Yeah.
To see what Konami is doing now that the pandemic has kind of screwed up their pachinko business.
Right.
It's like, oh, shit.
Great pachinko. Talk about a gamble that they lost. All right. Well, as much as I would love to, I think you can hear it. Like the dogs. Yeah, they're preemptively ending the show for me. I haven't started and they're preemptively ending it. I think that may now be queuing off of anything else.
Pissed said 6/9 is his birthday. Happy birthday.
Yeah. All right. Anything else before we close out the show, Nick?
No.
Okay. When's a good day to game with you this week?
Anytime. I don't
say
have
that, but then
okay. Like I could do in the evening tonight. That would be okay.
Not tonight.
Not tonight?
Yeah.
Okay. Then just let me know at a time and
Okay.
I'll make some time. We'll basically do it through Xbox because I can download pretty much any Game Pass game, but I don't have a PlayStation.
Well done, Simunation. You showed up just in time for us to end the show. Well done, sir. What? David Tennant and Catherine Tate return to Doctor Who. That would be so awesome. I'm gonna have to read that.
What are they? Yeah. Oh man, I was watching the older Harry Potter movies over the course of like the last week, and it's interesting watching that. Going, wait a minute, that dude's in it. That dude's in it. David Tennant is in one of them in like a very small role, but I was like, wait a minute, I know that guy. That's Doctor Who. That's the Purple Man. That's David fucking Tennant.
Yeah, he was around for a lot. There's a bunch of like, especially early Shakespeare stuff, movies that where David Tennant was, and he was just kind of a side actor. My favorite one of those, like he was in it. Now this is going back to to your parents' days or earlier.
Okay.
When I was a very, very, very young child, I was super into PBS and Masterpiece Theater. Every Sunday night, loved Masterpiece Theater, even as a child. And there was a Masterpiece Theater series doing I, Claudius, which is a great, great book. And very famous British actress. Of course, it was Masterpiece Theater. This is what they do. So the original I, Claudius had, I'm looking it up, stand by, Claudius TV show. So I there we go. I, Claudius, a television epic. No, that's not it. No. Anyway, watched as a child, thought it was wonderful, totally great. Then, grew up, watched TV shows, watched other sci-fi stuff, got into Star Trek, The Next Generation. And then what's the name of the guy that plays Picard?
Patrick Stewart.
Stewart, thank you. Patrick. I'm just having a brain cramp. Let's see if I can find him. If I can show a picture of him, please. I'll find an image. There we go. So years later, I say, it's on streaming now. I'm going to watch I, Claudius again.
Wait.
Okay, we have to fire Nick's cats. They're now, before they were cute, this episode, they're now fucking annoying. But I, Claudius came on. I decided I was going to go watch it again. And sure enough, I watch it again and I find... Stand by, I'm trying to get the pictures up and my internet is now borging out. Come on. Really? There we go. Found it. Sorry for all you listeners on. And I find a young Patrick Stewart with hair. And he came out and he played in a few episodes before, that Caesar ended up getting killed or murdered or suicided. He was on there and I was like, holy crap, it's Captain Picard with hair. But yeah, British stuff is always that. Officially, Nick.
Whoa, that's Patrick Stewart with hair.
Exactly what I said when I saw it after watching I, Claudius again years later.
I didn't know that man ever had hair.
He did. He very much did have hair. Either that or it was a wig. Yes, he did. He's played a lot of things. If somebody else had him, there he is in another.
Okay, that looks more Patrick Stewart.
Yep.
Wow.
It says he lost most of his hair early on. In 1975, he made his first film called Hennessy. Here's a picture of him from that film without the rug. He was 35 years old at the time.
Oh, so that's what he looked like in the movie,
35.
in the picture, and then scroll down. That's what he actually looked like.
Right.
Okay.
No. This is, I guess that's what he actually looked like at that later on.
Okay.
Later on, more. Let me see. where it says, no, doesn't have anything else. And then it says here, Sejanus. That's right, Sejanus in I, Claudius. That's probably a wig. So, anyway, yes, I frequently, if you ever want to see most of the people you know in British that have been in television, as young people, go back and watch some of those those old BBC Masterpiece Theater shows. You will absolutely find them, and they're so dated. They're so dramatic in that way of drama on the stage that is brought
the
to
stage
television.
plays.
But
The Shakespeare, the
if you
overacting.
but the overacting, the sound is bad. The it's all done on like bad video or bad film.
It's got that good 70s movie like crunchy sound.
Yeah, that's the stuff. But you will find so many actors that you'll be like, holy shit, that's XYZ from who's super hot now and from Lord of the Rings, So anyway, I'm going to go and let's see. That I, Claudius episode aired in 76. So I guess it was a wig. Yeah, I think it was probably a wig, or at least a partial wig. Yeah. There we go. I, Claudius Reign of... Is that it? I, Claudius Reign of Terror? Is that what it was originally called? I don't know. Book's amazing. So anyway, Nick, shall we end the show?
Yes.
All right. Let's finding the right. One of these days, I got to figure out a better way to do this. Let's close this out. You've been listening to GameHounds, episode 639. We did record this on Sunday, May 15th, 2022. I'm Edie Sellers. With me has been Nick DiNicola. If you ever want to get a hold of us, gamehounds.net is our website. Gamehounds at gmail.com is our email. We record this show live on video so you can see our faces and all the stuff that we talk about that you can't see when you're listening to the podcast. It's all here live every Sunday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. You can find us on YouTube, on Twitch, and on Facebook. On Facebook and Twitch, we are The Gamehounds. On YouTube, we are Gamehounds Vids. That's VIDS, as in videos, all one word, Gamehounds Vids. You'll find us right there. We would love to have you in the chat room. By the way, thank you to Simunation, who at least made it. As he said, I at least made it. Yes, you did before the end of the show. Just barely. If it hadn't been for the freaking cats, you would have missed it. We also want to say thanks to Bitters in the chat room, to Blood Reaper in the chat room, to AC Wraith in the chat room, to anybody else in the chat room that I might have pissed was here. Thank you so much. If you'd like to join us, please do so. Again, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. For our podcast, we do release a podcast a few days after this as an audio show only. You can find us on YouTube, Google Play, Audible, Spotify, pretty much every place you can find a podcast. You can find it. There are 2 of them. If you do go to iTunes, there are 2 of them. It is the one under Wizard Media. That's where we live. Please feel free to join us. Thank you so much to everybody who listens. Also, a huge thank you to our patrons. We are 100% patron sponsored at this point. That keeps us going with all the subscriptions that we need. $1 a month. That is all we ask, which is, when you think about it, 4 shows a month, 25 cents a show, pretty cheap. Go to patreon.com/gamehounds and become a patron. Thank you to all of our patrons who have been sponsoring us. You are legends. Have a great week, everyone. Take care of yourself and be safe. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. That's done. And need to stop the music in my headset. Save. All right. We are saving, and this is... Oh, of course, it's going to take a while. Oh, there we go. G639. Come on, 639. All right. And we are now saved. Whew. It's always that moment of like literally I could hit the wrong button and the whole audio
Yeah.
podcast is gone at that point.
Yeah. I know that. I think I've done that.
Yeah, your cats are super needy this week.
Mhm.
Probably because, they're in a new place.
Yeah, they've actually adjusted very, very well. Yeah, I've been here almost about a week, and I feel like they've nearly fully adjusted.
Because they're a lot more needy this episode than they ever have been. So I think
Yeah.
that they're still clinging to daddy, especially Shepard. I mean, usually Shepard's very loving, but even now I notice that he's just like all over you,
Yeah.
way more than normal.
They're no longer hiding. When they first came in, I sent you that picture of Shepard and Jupiter like having crawled their way under an end table that had like 2 inches of clearance.
I don't know how they got in there.
They hung in there for like a solid day. And then we were able to create a little hidey hole for them. And they hung out there. And just yesterday, we created we brought over my old coffee table, draped a blanket over it, and put some cat beds underneath it so that now they have kind of a more permanent hidey hole that they can go into.
Thank you, Shepard, for being part of the show. All right, I'm going to go walk my dogs because they're staring at me like, didn't you end this a while ago? Everyone in the chat room, hey, take care of yourself. Thank you again to Blood Reaper. Thank for being our our news bastard. Thank you, AC Wraith, for being our link bitch. Have a great weekend and a great week. Please be very safe out there. It's back. It's very much back. So be careful with yourselves. We need every one of you here every weekend. Have a great week, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Can you hear her?